Eventually, most guys get themselves together. It's a false narrative that y'all creating, trying to act like most men, specifically black men, are not successful, do not have themselves together, do not have children out of wedlock. That's not true.
But
That
Anton,
is
Yeah,
but
not
Izzy,
true.
I
There
would
are
agree
women
with
who
him, man.
I
that are
started
also
to
raised
have
by
a
there are
family
girls
that
that are
still
raised by
kind
single
of lie.
mothers. There are girls that are raised by single mothers, and the onus is on them to actually become a better person. If they go out to the world, people keep saying that women don't have accountability from society. If a girl raised by a single mom or a bad parenthood, if she goes into society, she would get payment for that. She can become like, extra worker, SW. She can, there can be so many things that would happen to her that would
Mhm.
lead to her growth or lead to her detriment. So at the end of the day, you still have to grow up.
It's
It's
all
not just
worse
men.
off than ever before.
But
It's not
but
just men
Hold
that
on.
are raised by
Wait,
single
wait, wait.
mothers.
Why
Girls
are you
are also
using
raised
women?
by single mothers, and they also actually become better. If you look at the stats,
How?
more women that are raised by single mothers, they actually grow up and become. Why can't the men become as good as their female counterpart? Why?
Wait, wait,
Why
wait,
can't
wait,
because
wait.
it's a
What,
woman. They're
what
raised by
makes
a
you
woman.
think? What
Be saying statistics shows that women who are raised in single mother households grow up and basically make something of themselves. And I guess she's saying that men who are raised in the same environment don't end up making something of themselves. And she said this what statistic shows. I'm not I'm not sure what statistic that is. I'm not sure what study that is, but I've never heard. Usually it's both men and women who are raised in single mother households. They turn out to, not be the best when it comes to being productive people in society or whatever the case may be. So I'm not sure where she gets that from.
makes you think that they are better off? What
because
makes
the
you
same
think that these
people, like
women that are
you
growing up
guys
in
say
single
all the
parent
men
households
in
are
prison are
turning
all
out
from
to be
single
better?
mother homes, but the women in prison are not from single mother homes. That shows that
No,
the
we're
single
not
mothers are
talking about
giving the
prison.
women rights.
Listen.
And
Most of these women that
He
are
seems to be
complaining
talking
about
about
student loans,
extremes.
they'll never pay them back. They are a nuisance to society. They are being subsidized by the federal government, by
but
taxpayers.
do you guys
No,
love
no,
people
they,
owing
they're
them? You
not
guys
better
love
off.
credit. You guys love people
Women
being in credit and
today,
being in debt. You guys
women
love it.
today,
You love it.
just
So I
because they
can't.
got a nice credit score and they proven that they can buy more shit, does not mean that they are better off than they were. Women today are worse off than their grandmothers and their great grandmothers. Who told you that women are becoming greater and successful and overcoming and doing better than men when in reality they got more debt? They are the ones that are getting the most evicted. They're the ones that are getting their cars repossessed the most. They're the ones that are begging for student loan forgiveness, and they are the ones that's the most laid off. As a result, you can go and look at the last jobs report. Black women in particular are the ones that are losing the most jobs and the ones that are getting evicted. For whatever reason, you think that, and let's be clear, diversity, equity, and inclusion and subsidizing these women and making them think that they're better than they really are. Now that we have to be merit based, they fucked. They
Yeah.
broken. They
And Izzy,
You go
complaining.
to every major
And you know
hospital
what
or
a large
medical fields, it's black women
majority of them
dominating.
are doing?
Nurse
You know what a large
practitioners,
majority of them
deals,
are doing?
surgery.
I mean, when you look on TikTok, you go on TikTok and videos pop up on FYP and things like that. When it was coming out with the food stamp situation, Donald Trump cutting off the food stamp, and the when Joe Biden was in office about the student loans and things like that, it's usually women that are complaining about those type of things. Saying so that would just then means that it's mostly women who are quote unquote benefiting from these things, and because they are getting the assistance from the government, they think they're doing better than men when in reality that's just not the case.
You know what a
Neurosurgeon.
large majority of them are doing? They hitching themselves to men later on in life so that they can
yep,
survive.
yep.
They're not doing it on their own. They are begging men to take them in. They begging men to take their ugly kids in. They begging men to become stepfathers. They are not doing this on their own. They have been helped, coddled, and they have been held up by the federal government until you can find a man to take that piece of shit ass student loan that she got, and she begging for a guy to survive.
And it's the
That's
man's
that's
fault for
that's
taking it
why you
on.
Well,
If
see
you
Izzy,
had
that's why
discipline,
you
you
see
wouldn't take it
more
on.
than ever
And it
before.
all falls
There's
back to men. It
countries
circles back to
ever
men.
before
The
are
men
being
are the ones that are
or
picking this woman.
OnlyFans is crazy. Instagram, they selling pussy. You think that they
And
just
men are
doing
buying
well?
it.
They subsidizing their lifestyle $40 at a time. I promise you.
And Izzy,
But
and
the men are the
let me
ones
tell you,
dying. So the
but
men are the ones picking up these
Izzy,
women that they have to
I mean, what he's saying is not wrong. Like women have multiple outlets to, get through life, whereas men we're not so lucky to have you know, certain benefits when it comes to basically making it out or becoming something of ourselves. Like we usually have to actually put in the work to be something, but like he said, OnlyFans, you could just sell it randomly on the street. You don't even have to be on OnlyFans. You could just be a regular girl, and you have men pursuing you. You use those men as a crutch to get to where it is that you want to, and women have those what you call it. They have that capability of using the system, using men and things like that to get further ahead, and that's not necessarily the case for most men.
go into debt for. The men are the ones.
Izzy, but
The women
Izzy, how
are the
many
ones
women?
forcing you to
Well,
get
my
married.
well, my
But let me ask you though, Izzy, how many I agree exactly with what Anton's saying. Let me tell you why. Most of the women that do actually get to a certain place in their life, what we've realized is the examples I've seen is woman does end up finding a man in some way if she wants to have success. If she finds him early and has a good foundation early, usually the future looks a lot. If she is successful, she's married and she has a healthy relationship with her kids and she has. But if it's later on in life, there's a lot of times I've seen a lot of women in certain positions I've done that's like they're scrambling looking for someone. They have a situation that's a lot different. They're looking for someone, right? And also, Izzy, when you said women and those women that you see that are successful, Izzy, how many of them are actually happy and successful? If you really broke down and asked them questions, a lot of them are just charging
They are
hard. But if you
very
sit
happy
down,
and
but
successful.
Izzy, a lot of
Very,
them, if
very
you sit
happy.
down and have a conversation, a lot of them are like, man, I wish I would have started having kids. You know what? And you ask, oh, you living happy with just you and your single dog at home? Not in a bad way, but a lot of them are saying to themselves, oh yeah, I feel happy, but you have a conversation on the side. They wish they'd done better. A lot of
we
them are
keep leaving
incredible
out a big
women.
key
There are.
element here. So God tells us to do things in a certain way, right? There's a system for everything, whether you believe or you don't. And the problem here is we keep having a circular conversation. And you know why there's no resolution to this conversation? Because
Oh, it's
both
resolution.
parties are wrong. Both parties are wrong. It is true.
It's kind of crazy that she's using the God argument, but a lot of these women and men included, they're not into the Bible, they're not into spirituality, they're not into these type of things. So it's just like y'all are having a conversation on a panel. Not everybody is a believer. Not everybody is of the same religion or whatever the case may be. So, to say that there's a set way that things should be done, yes, most people know that, or you should know that as an adult or whatever the case may be. But however, when we're having these discussions on the panel, it's usually like, okay, men have a certain point of view, women have a certain point of view, and there's not like no middle ground because one side thinks they're right and the other side thinks they're right. So it's just like, bickering back and forth or whatever the case may be. But although what she's saying is true, it's just kind of like, is this the right time for you to be playing the God card?
Both parties are wrong.
It's not. What am
And
I
so,
What's
wrong
the
about?
solution?
hold on, I'm gonna explain it.
Okay.
So, we have a conversation about a single mother and how she's destroyed this child, right? Because of her single motherhood. And then we completely leave out the fact that there is a father and he's somewhere. We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that because you've had children outside of wedlock and now you are scrambling to figure out how to make it work and how to put it in order, right? And so we keep having a conversation trying to figure out who is to blame. Both parties are to blame.
They not.
Both parties. It's
I mean, not really, if because both parents don't get the credit that's given when things turn out good. So you can't then say both parents deserve blame. It's like after a point, you can't blame the person that's missing. Because if it were the case that that parent was in that child's life and they passed away at a young age, you don't get to blame the father for not being there because he's just not around. Well, he's not with us any longer. So you could kind of like take that same aspect as to like, well, if the mother's the one that's raising a child and she's supposed to be instilling certain values and things like that, how you gonna say, oh, but the father didn't marry her or the father is not in the picture or whatever the case may be? At the end of the day, it gets to a point, and regardless of whichever parent is missing, same thing if it were the mother that was missing, the man, especially the man, he doesn't get to blame the fact that the mom is not there to help raise the child or whatever the case may be, because at the end of the day, you are the present person. You are the one that's instilling these values or whatever the case may be. So you have to do the best job possible for you to raise that child. You don't get to put the blame on somebody else that's not present. So that's I'm not going for that.
It's a conversation that is pointless.
You didn't prove anything. All you just said was both parties are to blame, and you're wrong
What do
as
you mean I
usual.
didn't prove anything? We
Most
are
men,
doing things
most
out
men
of order
specifically
in
black men,
that.
most men specifically black men do not have children out of wedlock. Most
That's not
women,
true.
it is true. It's a
It's not
statistical fact.
true.
It is. Most men do
68% of
not have
men, I
children out
believe
of.
it's 68% of men have children.
Most men don't have children out of wedlock. I don't know if you heard that last part.
So you're telling me that majority of men are married?
The
Majority of men
majority
with
of men
children are
have their
married.
children in wedlock.
I'll
The
have to see.
majority
I
of
don't think
men that
she's
the
listening to what
I'll
majority
have
he's
of
to see
men,
the
saying.
statistic because it's
then
not
go and
true.
look it up. You'll go and
Okay.
find it and then make sure you come back and tell me that I'm right.
Okay, I
The
will.
majority of women,
Yeah.
specifically black women, have
Mhm.
children out of wedlock by a small minority of the men.
Okay.
Why is
16%
that?
of men have
Why is
children out
that
of
so hard
wedlock.
to believe?
I do have a
Most
question
men
because
don't
Anton, you said
get
that
to
How many
procreate
percent
in
of
life.
women? How many percent of
You can
women?
answer me the question, but I
That's
want you to
always been
sit
the
on that
case.
for a minute, and then you come back and tell me how we both wrong again.
can you
Okay.
look up percent of women?
Most men are not having sex. Most men that have children have it within wedlock.
Yep.
Most women that are having children are having them by a
It's more
minority of the
likely
same
that
men out of wedlock.
a woman would
They're
share
all raised
baby
by
daddies
single
with
parents.
other
So
women
so
than it
so
would be that
who's the
men are
problem?
sharing the same baby
Wait, what's the
mothers as
percentage for
other
women,
men.
Victor? Since you know,
Wait,
But
wait,
a
wait,
woman
wait,
can
wait.
only get pregnant
Who's the
one time a
problem?
year. So
You're
even if
saying
women
women
are
are the
having
problem.
kids, she
It's
can
somewhere
only be
between
pregnant
75 and
once
80%
a
of women
year.
have their children out of
But a
wedlock.
man can impregnate several women. Like he can impregnate 100 women within a year. A woman can only be pregnant one time.
Well, well,
Literally,
Correct.
at the
So
very
if
least
no,
twice.
you just proved my point. If the onus is on you, on who you have children with, if I went and I saw for 99.9% of all men and 0.1% of men impregnated 90% of the women, then who do we solve for the problem? That's why we say women control access to sex, men control access to marriage. That's literally why we say it.
This is why men used to be castrated.
but
so
Are
like
y'all not paying attention? Listening?
but Anton, you saying
Are
let me
y'all not listening to what's going on here?
but can I
I'm
say
hearing you.
but Anton, you saying that man, you said both of them are not, and Ty said both parties are to blame.
Okay, so it says between the ages of 20 and 24, 70% of births are to unmarried fathers. Ages 25 to 29, about 50%, and then it increases after 30. So what I'm
Unmarried
saying,
fathers. It could be the
unmarried
same
fathers,
guys.
that's what I'm talking about. That's
It
what I'm
could be
talking
the same guys
And
that are
that's still a male
unmarried and are
problem.
having multiple children by multiple women.
And that's still a male problem as well with
and
females.
they're all and those men that have children out of wedlock, do you think they come from two parent homes or single parent
Jesus
homes
Christ.
mostly?
This is
Oh my
crazy.
God.
Whatever
No, I'm
homes
just
they
I
come
mean,
from.
you kind of get the, and I hate to use like celebrities or whatever the case may be, but like you could trickle this down to the popular guy in school or the drug dealer or whatever the case may be. Usually, it's one man that has three baby mamas, four baby mamas. You look at Future, you look at Nate Cannon, like women are lining up to be their baby mothers and not a wife. So in between like three men, you have like 12, 15 women who have kids by just three men. So it's like I don't know why they kind of like they're not getting what Anton is saying, but it's just like we see this on a day-to-day basis. Like, women are only attracted to a certain group of men, and those are the men that are having most of the kids. It's not rocket
They
science.
are breaking up the
Honestly,
family.
I don't
Whatever
even think that this
whatever
matters.
that
Going back
family
to
is, whatever
Trump,
It
you
does.
come from,
It
you're
has
going
to
back
still
to
matter.
creating
Trump,
a
Oh my,
broken
oh
going
my.
back
community.
to Trump and the point,
Can
Say something.
going back to Trump and how
Hold on,
he,
Jerry. Hold on, Jerry. Hold on.
okay.
It's not a question I want to ask. It's something Todd said, right? I think both parties are to blame, right? Because y'all keep saying, granted, one parent household is to blame, but at what age is it not to blame?
Thank you.
Can men still use that excuse at the age of 40? Can men
No.
use that excuse at the age of 35? I'm just saying, like, at what age do the men stop saying, "Well, I was raised by a single mother"?
If the majority of men are not the problem and the majority of the women are perpetuating and carrying forward the problem, if
Okay.
you solve for an issue, who do you solve for it with?
To the
Because you
majority.
always target where the majority of the problem is. You listen, the only time I hear women say that both are wrong is when women are the ones that are majority the problem. They
But
never say, you know what, ladies, let's get it together. We fucked up. I don't know why we keep having children out of wedlock. We need to hold each other accountable.
I'm gonna
They
tell you why
always say,
you having children
they
out of
say,
wedlock, Anton.
when I talk to my wife and I say, listen, let me go ahead and give you some insight on how you can do things differently. She always said, well, what about when you, well, if you had a problem with me, then you should have addressed it prior to me actually addressing you. Right now, it's you. And I don't know when this became a team effort. Every single time that we point out some inconsistency or some problem with women that is doing it wrong. Why is it a us thing when y'all have when we
That's
hold
why the conversations never move forward, because it then becomes like, oh, you always have a problem with women, you hate women, you're misogynistic, and this, that, and the third. But it's like, even in relationships, when you bring a situation to your significant other, in this case, it being a woman, is gonna most times not get resolved because she's not willing to hear the complaint and do what it is that's necessary to fix said problem. It's gonna be like, oh well, you do this and I don't say nothing, and you did this the other day and I didn't say nothing. It's just like, well, that's how you chose to handle the situation, but I'm handling it differently. It's the same thing when they get on these panels or whatever the case may be, and it's a topic about, oh, women do this wrong. Oh well, but men are supposed to be the leaders and they not doing it and they not doing it. It's like it becomes a perpetual cycle where nothing ever gets solved. Unfortunately.
men accountable, it's a men thing. When we hold y'all accountable, it's a us thing.
Because
Do you want to be leaders, or do you want to? You said you don't want to be
See,
partners.
you see, do you want to be leaders? Just because you're a leader doesn't mean you're gonna fix everybody and everything. It's just like, that's not how that works. If you're not, if you're a quote unquote leader and you have terrible people who are not who are following you, what does it matter if I'm a good leader or not? If you choose not to take my advice or not adhere to what it is that I'm teaching you, whether I'm leading you or not, it will make it seem like I'm a bad leader because you're not listening to what it is that I'm saying. It won't matter.
You said you don't want partnership. And so, how can you hold women to the same accountability and capacity to men? You can't.
Accountability is not a gender thing, though.
Yeah, I could hold you accountable for the bullshit that you do. That doesn't mean it's gonna look the same for a man and a woman. I could hold you accountable. Accountability is a human thing. You did something wrong, you must fix it. This is what you did wrong. This is what I need you to do to fix it. That's not a gender thing. That's not me not being a leader. That's not that has nothing to do with nothing. But this is the problem with the conversations that we have. It becomes like, oh, you're not a leader, you're not masculine, you're not this, you're not that. It becomes shaming tactics, and conversations get nowhere because it's not coming from a place where people are trying to solve for the problem. they just trying to, well, you do this too and you do that too and you do this. It becomes a, oh, but you do it too type situation, and then you get the, you're not a leader if you're quote unquote mentioning things that I'm not doing. You're supposed to take the lead in certain aspects. It's like, no, you just a fucked up person and you need to change your ways.
It's not. I'm saying it's not. What I'm saying is he's stating that women and men are completely different, right? Men have a certain type of authority that women don't, right? In society, we're talking about women and men's accountability being different. And so why do we keep putting them parallel to one another as if they're the same thing? They're not the same
Who
thing.
said that we ever was parallel? We was putting
Because you're
accountability
sitting here
parallel.
saying
I
that
never made that
that both
argument.
parties are not responsible, but both parties are participating. I don't get how we can only singularly focus on one party's participation.
I
It doesn't make
clearly
sense to
gave you the
me.
reason why we had to focus on one party.
Doesn't
If
matter if it's a
if a
majority,
group
but
of
it's still
women,
two
if a
parties.
group of women is getting
I mean, it just seems like they not trying to, the women in this case are not trying to understand. But yeah, I'm gonna end it right here. It's like, it's not that difficult, bro. When you're solving for a problem, you solve for the majority, not the minority. If the majority is doing this, I'm gonna work on fixing them. I don't need to worry about the quote unquote 2 or 3 people that's doing bullshit right here. I need to focus on the 10. Hopefully I could get them down to 2 or 3, just like the other side. But trying to be like, oh well, it's 2 or 3 people that's doing bullshit over here. Let me focus on them and leave the people that's doing, 10, 20 people over here doing bullshit. I'm not gonna focus on them. I'm gonna focus on the little. It's like, you're not gonna solve anything. You're not gonna solve anything that way. So, um, it's just, communication. The most important part about communication is understanding, and they're choosing not to understand at this point. That's what it just seems like. They choosing not to understand, and it's not that hard. It's not that hard. You can't always want a bunch of men and women when it's time for women to be held accountable. Like, this is a majority women problem. So let's fixate on the women. We're not talking about men right now. When it's time for men to be held accountable, we're gonna talk about men, and it's not gonna be like, oh well, but women do it too. But let me know down below in the comments what y'all think. Do y'all agree with what Anton is saying and some of the men on the panel is saying, or do y'all agree with the women saying that, oh, women who raised in single parent households, they fare off better than the men, or whatever the case may be. And uh, Ty, I think her name is, she's talking about how uh God has one way of doing things, but it's not a conversation about God. Like, y'all let me know down in the comments. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe. Again, I'll be back with another video real soon. Peace. Peace, guys. Peace.